Read thy scripture, mortals.
You know, I recently got back into gaming and decided, since I don't have my old N64 anymore, to fire up an emulator to revisit some old gems from my childhood. One of those little gems was Banjo-Tooie, and as I began to play it more and more often, I began to realize how much I had missed video gaming. It gave me time to reflect on how far gaming has come. I mean, we went from little squares to things so real you could touch them. It's true, we've really come a long way, and a large majority of us remember our gaming past. We all remember that little Italian plumber saving a princess, or a little blue hedgehog hooked on real speed. We all remember fatalities, blast processing, tanuki suits, Triforces, Pac-Mans, Hadoukens, opera-singing piles of poo. Need we say more of this little list of nostalgia? If only there was someone who could take all those little references and make one awesome coming-of-age movie that gives a nod to the gaming community. Wait, they already did that? Shoot. Okay, well, what if the characters actually make little cameos and you've got an original story revolving around... And ding ding, we have a winner. The idea sounded great, but like a lot of great ideas, while they sound good, they oftentimes faceplant harder than Crash Bandicoot. Just kidding, I love you, buddy, please don't hate me. Why did you have to die? Nowadays, video game movies are quite a gamble. Oh yeah, sure, you could be like, hey, Stevie, let's make a movie on like Call of Duty, and then 2 months later, boop, there we go, Act Devoured, best movie of 2012. Nobody would really know the difference anyway. A video game movie usually means an adaptation of a video game, but Wreck-It Ralph is a video game movie about video games. It's an interesting twist for sure, and everyone knows the notoriety thing of video game movies, so maybe Wreck-It Ralph might break past the trash and become one of those little awesome exceptions.
But bad critic, Wreck-It Ralph isn't a Christmas movie. You should be reviewing Rise of the Guardians. That's Christmas related, right? Why aren't you reviewing a Rankin Bass cartoon? Why no love for Rudolph?
Because Rudolph is overrated.
I'm just watching, you're watching the Toon Critic.
And an endless sea of animation stands one true dude for the 21st century, hailing proudly from the Shy City, Chicago's own Toon Critic.
Greetings, my bronies, Pegasisters, amigos, and belly bros. Seriously, Care Bear fans have their own names now. Welcome to the Decemberween special episode of my show that gives animation the praise it truly deserves. Toon Critic's the name, Toon's the name of my game. Today we take a look at Disney's yearly contribution for, well, this year, Wreck-It Ralph. Now, I had to pick at least one movie from this year, and I felt, well, none of the other movies this year got me so hyped. Now, believe it or not, this movie's been in development since the 80s, with the working title High Score. Various video game characters were added to the original script as either characters that would help the story, or as cameos that would serve as fan service, thanks to the film's creative team. It was basically going to be a video game version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, an original story with various licensed characters to serve as cameos. Had they released this when the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis were going at it, it would have sold fast and caught on to the hype both systems were generating. However, the writers didn't take into consideration if they could actually have certain characters show up in the movie. So Disney had to get permission from various other places and people to use their characters, and they had to work with said companies to assure that the company's characters were represented in the best way possible. High Score got back into development later on near the end of the 90s under the new name Joe Jump, and then was changed yet again to Reboot Ralph. Sometime later, Disney finally settled on the name Wreck-It Ralph and got Rich Moore, well known for his work with Simpsons and Futurama, to direct it, and he also got to voice Sour Bill and Zangief. So, with the backstory out of the way, let's see what the real story has to offer. Before the movie begins, Disney usually throws in a little short film, and this year's short film was called Paperman, which was a well-animated love story for what it was worth. The story opens up with our protagonist, Wreck-It Ralph, voiced by John C. Reilly, at a Bad Guys Anonymous meeting, discussing his life as a video game villain in the Donkey Kong-esque video game Fix-It Felix Jr. What's his job, you ask? Basically to lose all the time. Unlike the jobbers in World Wrestling Entertainment, there's no paycheck and no satisfaction from being programmed to never win. Ralph visits the Bad Guys meeting on the day of the 30th anniversary of his video game. After 30 years of doing the same old thing, Ralph boldly states that he doesn't want to be the bad guy anymore. Of course, all the other bad guys think he's ridiculous and that he shouldn't go turbo, as in jump into another game and mess with the programming, a big no-no in the arcade. That's okay, I'm pretty sure DreamWorks is about to go turbo anyway. Upon getting back to his game, Ralph discovers the Nicelanders, the people in the apartment he destroys, are throwing the anniversary party without inviting Ralph. Ralph takes offense to this and shows up, getting into an argument with the Nicelanders, who only see Ralph as a bad guy and nothing more. Ralph becomes jealous and states he could be a good guy if he wanted to, and ends up destroying the cake in a fit of rage. Leaving, Ralph proclaims that he will win a medal and prove he can be a hero. And how does one get a medal? By playing Call of Duty! Well, not exactly it's hero's duty here, but it's close enough. The writing, storytelling, and dialogue of Wreck-It Ralph is just as strong as the visuals. The flow is consistent and the humor is chuckle-worthy. Someone called this a video game version of Toy Story, and it definitely shows with the whole after-hours thing for the characters. Speaking of which, let's take a look at them. How exactly can you describe Ralph? For me, he seems to be one of the better original characters Disney has created. Even though he's a villain, technically, we see that he doesn't want to be the villain anymore. In fact, for a villain, he's not as intimidating as you would think. He doesn't want to take over the world or anything like that. And all he does is wreck buildings and get tossed off, rinse and repeat, for 30 years. You ever get the feeling that someone wrote a fic where Ralph snaps and kills everyone because he's tired of losing? He could have whined and sang a song about how he wanted more and got into like the whole Disney princess syndrome thing, but he actually decides to do something to change his fate. He's actually smart enough to rebel and aware enough to realize there's more to life than monotony. Riley seems to be the perfect voice for Ralph. You can't really put into words how his voice works. It just sort of does. It adds just the amount of gruffness and attitude, but also makes it gentle at times for when it's needed. The writers did a great job handling him. He isn't the bully you'd expect. He's kind of like Shrek at first, misunderstood and capable of much more in life than doing the same thing over and over. Actually, Zangief, of all people, put best saying Ralph is a bad guy, but that doesn't make him a bad guy. Come to think of it, Ralph reminds me more of Baloo than anything. You know, the big guys with heart teaming up with little guys. In a way, Disney found a way to use Ralph to show that typecasting is wrong, and that just because someone tells you can't do something doesn't mean you can't. That's probably what Disney was thinking when they bought Lucasfilms anyway. Lightsaber Keyblade! Of course, every villain needs a hero, and in this, we are given Disney's attempted version of Mario, Fix-It Felix Jr., voiced by Jack McBrayer, who, despite being a goody two-shoes, actually has a personality. He's the most popular guy in his video game and gets showered with praise and popularity, but he doesn't let it get to his head. He's modest about his success and is often the peacemaker in tougher situations. He was originally going to be the main character in one of the film's earlier drafts, with Ralph playing second fiddle, but the filmmakers thought Ralph's story would be more compelling and interesting. Honestly, while Felix isn't a bad character, he probably wouldn't be able to carry the whole movie. His weapon of choice is a magical hammer that can fix anything. Can it really? If such an item existed, perhaps the world would be a much better place. Many people find the relationship between Ralph and Felix to be reminiscent of Donkey Kong and Mario, which is probably what the writers were going for. Representing the first-person shooters of the world is Sue Sylvester parody number 47, Commander Sergeant Tamora Jean Calhoun, voiced by, oh, why am I not surprised, Jane Lynch. Jane Lynch seems to get typecast as her character from Glee a lot more often these days. She's the badass masculine commander who insists on calling her soldiers ladies like a stereotypical drill sergeant. There's really not a lot to say on her other than she's not a static character. She's actually dynamic, changing as the movie goes along. She's not as annoying or as bad as people make her out to be. Part of me thinks she's just a tiny bit misunderstood. Talking about this movie to others, the one character about 90% remember is the little 9-year-old racer Vanellope von Schweetz, voiced by Sarah Silverman. Okay, interesting choice there. Maybe better than getting an actual 9-year-old? She's an energetic, curious, and fun-loving child who has the mysterious ability to glitch around and mess with the game's programming. She's a sassy, spunky girl that rocks the hoodie and skirt, somewhat goppy combination thing, but like most, her backstory is a bit depressing. As Vanellope puts it, everyone here says, I'm just a mistake and that I wasn't even supposed to exist. Which makes me wonder if Disney is trying to make a message here about abortion or something. Of course, being an outcast isn't always great, as she gets picked on by the popular girls, but she ends up teaming up with Ralph, despite a rocky start between the two of them. Odd, where have we seen this character before? Fair comparison? Maybe? And for all the people who say Vanellope's voice actress is annoying, would you rather have her voiced by Tank Girl? Then we come to King Candy, voiced by Alan Tudyk, who is probably a long-lost homosexual cousin of the Mad Hatter. The guy's eccentric, but like most eccentric guys, they can easily weird you out when they get angry. He's the king of Sugar Rush, a video game combining Candyland and Mario Kart, because who wouldn't want to be a playable character along such classic kart racers like Rancis Fluggerbutter, Candlehead, and Taffeta Mutton Fudge? Anyone hungry yet? Though goofy, we see that he's just another power-hungry, corrupt dictator who thinks he can get away with anything. How, though? Not gonna spoil that. On an interesting note, he shares a lot of similarities to some of the Pixar villains, like Henry J. Waternoose as the evil authority figure, Stinky Pete for the jealousy, Chick Hicks for being an accomplished racer. You'd be surprised how many villains he's similar to. Now for the cameos. Most of them are there for fan service, like Not Kano, Eggman, Am Bison, Bowser, etc., but guys like Zangief, Clyde, and Qbert actually help the story move along. And of course, the one character everyone got excited for, Sonic the Hedgehog and his film debut. He gets his own poster, and only shows up for all of 15 seconds. That's kind of misleading. But regardless, it was a smart move by Disney to load up on the cameos. They actually got a lot of gamers to see the movie, and also got a lot more attention from mainstream gaming sites. That, and they got a lot of notable voice actors to provide voices, like Maurice LaMarche and Kyle Hebert. Even though they get like one or two lines, they got to be a part of the awesomeness, and that's what matters.
But Bad Critic, why isn't Mario in this movie? How could Disney forget him?
Now, this is a question a lot of people have asked, so let's set the record straight here. Mario is mentioned by name, with one of the Nicelanders saying he's fashionably late. At first, the reason was that Nintendo wanted a very high licensing fee for Mario, but this turned out to just be a joke, and the real reason was that the writers had no idea how to put him in, and they didn't want him just showing up for 10 seconds. It's funny, Sonic, Bowser, and even a mushroom make more of a cameo than Mario. At least the story is strong enough so Wreck-It Ralph doesn't become count how many video game references there are in the movie. Trust me, if someone made a drinking game out of this movie, I think they'd probably be dead in the first 15 minutes. You can almost always count on Disney to deliver when it comes to visuals, and Wreck-It Ralph's visuals do not disappoint. The worlds are beautiful and vibrant and really feel straight out of a video game. The Fix-It Felix world feels like an authentic 8-bit world, and I'm pretty sure if it was an actual game back in the day, kids would eat it up. For Sugar Rush, we get that it's supposed to be all cute and girly, yet we see guys playing it. Was this a playful poke at bronies? Probably not. The third act's race really puts the visuals to the test, and in 3D it actually looks pretty awesome, similar at a few points to Speed Racer. The Bug Hunt world feels grim and eerie, like a sci-fi shooter should feel. Combined with the intense music, the Bug Hunt world becomes, well, intense. This isn't something you would really expect from Disney, and it honestly feels like it belongs more in a DreamWorks movie. Then again, Disney has to be willing to try new things. They seem to toss around the words death, die, and kill, probably because kids today need to realize that death is real, and you can't live forever. One more interesting thing to mention, Wreck-It Ralph has more individual characters than any other Disney movie. While most Disney movies have 40 to 60, Wreck-It Ralph has 188. The music of Wreck-It Ralph is awesome. It was composed by Henry Jackman, who's also worked on movies like X-Men First Class and the new Winnie the Pooh movie. Owl City and Skrillex got to make original songs for the movie, and Skrillex himself gets to make a little cameo during the party in the movie. Personally, this is some of the best music Disney has made in a long time, and it's nice to know that Disney still has it. You know when you hear about this awesome party that you're a bit hesitant to go to, and then you find out some old friends are going to be there, and then you cave in, you go anyway, and you have one heck of a time, and then the party host says, oh yeah, we're definitely having another party, and then you go home and you're all like, that was something else. That's basically what Wreck-It Ralph is. It's an exciting thrill ride with great action, fun little cameos, fascinating visuals, interesting characters, and a solid story Disney is well known for writing. How appropriate that this movie ends in the song When Can I See You Again by Owl City. Well, you will be happy to know Rich Moore and Disney have been discussing the ideas for a sequel that will explore online and console gaming. And since everything is getting a sequel these days, it would only seem fair. Other than a few minor plot holes involving the villain, Wreck-It Ralph gets a strong 4.5 out of 5, a high recommendation, and my pick for Best Animated Movie of 2012 at the Academy Awards. I'm the Toon Critic, keeping you totally tuned for your viewing entertainment.